A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 4th July 2020. Day is Saturday. I would like to start today's discussion with this quote by Michael Phelps. I'm sure you know Michael Phelps. He's a legend in the world of swimming. He says that you can't put a limit on anything. The more you dream, the farther you get. The more you dream is like a seed. The bigger you are, the bigger your dreams are going to be. When I say bigger, I mean to say when you have enough courage, when you have this courage to think big about yourself, your dreams are going to be big. And the bigger your dreams, the more hard work you have to put to achieve those dreams. Just dreaming is not enough, right? You have to take action as well. With this, dear friends, StudyIQ team has designed a smart course. This smart course is for Civil Services Examination. It covers pre and mains examination, and to find out more about it, do check out our mobile application. Till 10th July, EMI offer is also available. So make the most out of it, dear friends. Thank you very much for your love and support. Yesterday, we have crossed 8 million subscribers. Thank you very, very much. And I'm sure you will support us today and tomorrow as well. And we will make sure that we keep on delivering good quality, highest possible quality material on regular basis to you. So thank you very much again for your love and support. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion, and you can download the PDF of today's lecture from my Telegram channel. On our table, we have 4 articles today. The first one, A Nation's Message. This one is about the Prime Minister's message to our soldiers, to our nation, as well as to China. Lessons for India. This one is about India and Italy. It's about a case. I'll take you through it. I'm not sure how many of you are aware about it. It's a matter of February 2020. I beg your pardon? February 2012. It's been 8 years now. And then we have one interesting article from the Hindu newspaper. It's about a research and the result of a research. It's about women's work. And the last one is from Indian Express. And this article is written by a secretary. I'll take you through him. That means I'll introduce this secretary to you guys, and again a very interesting article, and then we'll go through some news items. So on your screen you can see Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and this is the latest photo of Prime Minister, right? He addressed our soldiers. As you can see, he is in outdoors. He was in Ladakh, and he addressed our nation. And this was not just about our nation. This was not just limited to our soldiers. It was also a sort of warning as well as a message to China. On your screen you can see a paragraph. These are the words of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I'll roughly translate it for you guys. He said that the courage and the dedication of our soldier in protecting our motherland, no one can match it, right? It is outstanding. And he said that our soldiers, he addressed our soldiers, he said that you guys are working in a very difficult terrain, and then as well you are protecting, you are doing everything possible to protect our motherland, and that's the greatness of our soldiers. So this was a morale booster for our soldiers. It was a strong message as well for China, and it was a sort of signal for our nation as well that when it comes to protecting our country. See, the thing is, it's not about BJP, it's not about Congress, it's not about any political party. Here we are talking about a nation. Here we are talking about, Prime Minister, this gentleman here, Mr. Modi, he is not here in Ladakh as a BJP person. He is here as a Prime Minister of our country. These are the shades that you have to identify, and this is something that you will develop. But it's all about practice. The more you read, when I say the more, I don't want you guys to think about reading so many things in a day. What I'm saying is, if you continue doing means your continuity is the key, right? A day will come when you will develop this skill of identifying these shades, right? Shades in various different roles played by political leaders and other people. Anyway. So basically, here Prime Minister Modi is, the government of India is saying clearly that we are with our soldiers, and whatever our soldiers have done so far, they have done. They have done it quite greatly, and they are there, and the government is there as well to protect our soldiers and support our soldiers. So this was a clear message to China as well, that if you think that you can mess around with India, then India is a country that will take no nonsense, right? We are not here to be bullied. We don't want to bully you or any other country. But if you think that you can play around with us, then that is something that will not happen. Prime Minister met troops at the 14th Corps headquarters at Nemo. And you can imagine when Prime Minister is visiting Ladakh, and when he is visiting the hospitals to look, to just to say hello, as well as to have a chat with our injured soldiers. You can imagine that it is a big morale booster, isn't it? And it is sending a clear signal as well that the top leadership is with our soldiers. India would protect the territory of Ladakh, has been clearly stated by Prime Minister Modi. And it's not just all about defense. We know it very well that we have started doing various different strikes at various different on China at various different levels. For example, Ravi Shankar Prasad, our IT minister, said that by banning this mobile applications, we have conducted a digital strike. Earlier on, we used to hear about surgical strike. This one is a digital strike on China. Then Nitin Gadkari, Road and Transportation as well as MSME Minister, has clearly stated that Chinese companies will, his ministry will not allow, the government of India will not allow Chinese companies to take part in investment projects or any sort of road projects, as well as investment in MSMEs. So these are economical as well as investment strikes that we have started launching on China. And China is feeling the heat, right? Prime Minister also said that peace requires courage. For peace, you have to be strong. Only a strong country can talk about peace. So far, India has been talking about peace, and see, the definition for peace for us is not a peace after a war. We are a country that I believe we would like to avoid a war, because we know this thing for sure that war is not going to be beneficial for, even if of course we will win, but whoever loses a war, whoever wins a war, it's just a sort of defense victory. In reality, both the nations will lose so many things. So it is better to avoid a war, but for that as well, you have to be very strong. You have to be very courageous. You have to speak from a point where you are, full of strength. I hope you are getting the message here that we are not at all a weak country here. Right? So I hope you are able to get what I'm trying to say here. Is that it's like a fence. When we create a house or our agriculture field, the reason we have a fence is, if you don't have any fence, if you don't have any defense, then anyone can loiter in your garden, and anyone can enter in your garden or your agriculture field or your property. But when you have clearly guarded thing, then it becomes difficult, and you are also sending a signal that you are strengthful enough, that you are ready to protect your territory, isn't it? So Prime Minister also said that if we go back in history, then we find that all those forces who have tried to expand, who have tried to encroach, they have always failed. He also said that if India and China, if they work with each other with peace, right, with stability, then economic development of this region and the world can be ensured. But if you misbehave, then we are ready to take on. Prime Minister also said, this signal is a clear signal for China, and Beijing swiftly responded, saying that no party should engage in any action that may escalate the situation at this point. Moving on to next topic, lessons for India. Now on your screen you have two Italian Marines, and this case is it all started back in February 2012. A ship called Enrica Lexi. And on this ship, there were two Marines, Italian Marines. They shot our two fishermen, two Kerala fishermen. And then there was a big diplomatic issue between India and Italy. And these two Marines, they were caught. This Enrica Alexi was parked at one of the coast of Kerala. And that means it went to Supreme Court as well. And there was a point, I still remember a few details, that there was a point when India and Italy's diplomatic ties were under too much pressure. Then there was this case, I think I remember this thing as well, that it was Christmas or New Year or something, and these two Marines, they were in jail, one of the jail of our country. So they requested that they want to visit their family back in Italy, because they are not they are not like a what is the right word? They are not like a regular petty criminals, right? They are like Marines of Italy, and so of course they are treated a bit differently. So they were sent back, and Italy, as an Italian ambassador, he guaranteed that they will return, and they came back as well. So there are so many ups and downs associated with this whole Enrica Alexi case. Now, the reason why it is in news is because the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague admitted that both India and Italy had concurrent jurisdiction in the matter, but concluded that the Marines' immunity precluded India's jurisdiction. That means, see, these Marines are not acting for personal, for their personal profit or personal reason. They are deployed by the state of Italy. It was not a sort of military or a naval vessel of Italy. Enrica Alexi is a merchant vessel, and these two Marines were deployed as sort of guardian for this merchant vessel. So they were deployed by Italy. So they were on state duty. They were serving basically their country, that is Italy. So the Permanent Court of Arbitration has said that this whole thing took place some 20.5 nautical miles off the coast of India. So jurisdiction of this India is also there. Then Italy's jurisdiction is also there, in the sense that protecting this vessel. But when it comes to Marines' immunity, because they were acting on behalf of Italy for their state, so Marines' immunity precluded India's jurisdiction. So Marines' immunity is been given an upper hand compared to India's jurisdiction. So basically, India has lost this case. Now, PCA said that Enrica Alexi violated the right and freedom of navigation of Indian fishing vessel under UNCLOS, and it has asked both parties, that is India and Italy, to consult each other, and they should discuss loss of lives and property and harm and etc., and then they should work out an amount of compensation. Back in history, means a few months ago, not few months ago, but when it all started, Supreme Court ruled that only Centre can prosecute the Marines and not Kerala. The reason is that when it comes to international relations, you don't find a state of our country dealing with another country, right? It is always the central government. Of course, via central government, you can develop your relationship, but it is always through Ministry of External Affairs, because this is just for your understanding. I'm saying you that when it comes to international relations, right, it is the union government that looks after international relation. Now, this National Investigation Agency, because the whole case was Supreme Court said that only Centre can do or can take steps as far as this prosecuting this Marines is concerned. So National Investigation Agency was roped in, and it invoked suppression of unlawful acts against the safety of maritime navigation and fixed platforms on continental shelf Act 2002. And this created a bit of problem, not bit, but it created huge problem, because this particular act talks about death penalty, and this created diplomatic cracks between India and Italy. And there was appointments. Italy then started taking help of, it started lobbying or influencing European Union, and finally European Union said that it will impose trade sanctions on India if we give death penalty to, or if we take this matter, if we add this sort of things that will lead to death penalty of these two Marines. So anyway, things are sorted now. But this is a reality that we have lost this case, and Italy has succeeded in taking the matter out of India's hand. Italy has promised to India that these Marines will be tried under domestic laws, but the way Italy has protected these two Marines, I don't think so. They will be tried. They will be given some sort of mercy, or they will be given some sort of relief from. I'm not sure about Italian laws, but I think something like that will happen in this case. Moving on to next item. This one is about women's work, particularly before lockdown as well as during lockdown and after lockdown. Now, a research was conducted by Azim Premji University. 5,000 workers across 12 states were the sample size of this survey. And out of this 5,000 workers across 12 states, 52 are women, and the rest of them are, of course, 48% men. Now, among rural casual workers, 71% of women lost their jobs. We are talking about post-lockdown. After lockdown, 71% women lost their jobs. If we compare job loss figure, if we compare this figure with men, then we find that 59% men, they lost their jobs. So here we can clearly see that more women, they have lost their jobs after lockdown. And here we are specifically talking about rural casual workers. We are not talking about city area or urban area here. We are talking about rural casual workers here. Data from Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, CMIE, also suggest that job losses in April 2020 as compared to April 2019 were larger for rural women than men. A year ago as well, more women, they lost their jobs compared to men, and in April 2020 as well, we find the same thing. Now, if we go back to pre-COVID-19 situation, then we find that according to National Labour Force Survey, a quarter of adult rural women were in labour force or counted as workers in official data in 2017-18. Most of the rural women, or 25% of adult rural women, were part of labour force. We also find that if you go through proper definition of work or worker, then we find that almost all women are part of this. They are part of this category of worker. When you consider caregiving work, when you consider milking work, when you consider looking after your domestic animals, when you consider some other works, right? There are so many other things. So if you consider all these things as work, as per the definition of worker, then we find that almost all women, they fall under this category of worker. Now, there are 5 things, 5 points on your screen. The first one is that rural women face a crisis of regular employment. I have one example. I'll take you through that example in a minute. Next slide. For now, just hold this point in your mind that rural women face a crisis of regular employment. Second point, women from all sections of peasantry, with some regional exceptions, participate in paid work outside the home. Third point, very easy to understand. Second point, third point is that when it comes to young educated women, they aspire for non-agricultural work. They are not happy to work in agricultural field. They want to do something that is outside this boundary of agricultural work. When it comes to older women, then we find that they prefer, when uneducated as well as less educated as well as older women, they prefer manual labor. Women's wages are rarely equal to men's wages, and this is not just limited to agricultural work. Even in the most developed countries, you find that women's wages are not equal, right, for the same job. Now, I'm not talking about the regular jobs. I'm talking about some highly paid jobs where incentives and highly paid salaries are there. So this is generally found that women are paid less compared to men, and this gap is highest in non-agri work. So when it comes to educated in the field that is not associated with non-agricultural work, and nowadays we are finding so many new things, so in that as well we find this gap. Work day is exceedingly long, and it's very painful, very hard work day, right? On an average, a single lady means when I say single lady, I mean to say that a woman will work for some average 60 hours per week. Per week work is 60 hours. And in harvesting season time, when there is agriculture season going on in rural area, women will work for on an average 70 plus hours. Some of them they work 90 hours. So you can imagine that this is, it's a tough job, and there are no vacations or day offs here. Lockdowns in jobs. I was talking about this first point, that rural women face a crisis of regular employment. Now, demand of milk dropped during lockdown because hotels and restaurants and so many other businesses were they were off. So demand for milk went down, and then there was no work left for so many women who are engaged in looking after this milk animals. So they lost. So this is the thing. Whenever you find drought season, whenever you find some flooding season or some sort of disaster going on, then we always find that it is rural women, they lose their job, they lose all those opportunities to make money or to earn some money. Agricultural activity continued during lockdown because it is part of essential activity, but employment available to women during the lockdown was limited. Nowadays we find that women play a very important role in health and education sectors as well, like ASHA workers. We were talking about ASHA workers few days ago. Remember, it was part of news item. And ASHA workers, they play a very important role in creating awareness about maternity health. They have played a very important role in this fight against coronavirus, particularly in rural area. But then as well, we find that they don't get regular wages. They are not paid a regular wage, and this is a shame for the nation, right? They play a very important role. They save so many lives, but then as well, they have to. They don't get anything. I mean, something that they can you can hold on to. And we already know that in our country, malnutrition level is quite high in rural women. I'm sure you are aware about this fact as well, that roughly speaking, 50% of women in our country, they are anemic. They have this, this anemic issue, lack of blood, and this thing we can see. We can match this numbers when you are suffering from this. When you are anemic, then it will create so many complexity during pregnancy and particularly during delivery time. So already we are facing so many challenges, and then source of income. When you don't have source of income, or when you don't have a regular source of income, then it will directly impact your food intake and your mental health and your physical health. And so you can imagine that situation is quite tough. Then the last article of the day, it's written by Parmeshwaran Iyer. Parmeshwaran Iyer is he is a writer as well as he is a secretary of Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation. And he's very exceptional. I have read so many articles written by this gentleman, right? I still remember some 2014 or 2015 I came across him, and I think it was 2015, and 2015, yes. And since then I have read so many articles written by him. They're always outstanding, and we learn so many things from his article. Today's article is about single-use plastic. As you all know that the whole world is fighting against this coronavirus. And we find this coronavirus gear. Means it is very common, isn't it? Sanitizer bottles, and then you have masks and your gloves, your PPE kits, everything is made up of plastic, or you find plastic as a raw material in making all these products. And here on your screen you can see this picture. A diver is grabbing so many of masks and this thing. So these are new products or new rubbish or trash that we find nowadays all around us. As per McKinsey 2018 report, the world generates 350 million tons of plastic waste every year. And unfortunately, only 16% of this plastic is recycled. Only 16%. So you can imagine we are creating mountains and mountains of plastic waste every year. WHO estimates that planet is losing about 89 million, beg your pardon, I said losing. No, we are using 89 million masks and 16 million gloves each month. Each month, 89 million masks and 16 million gloves. The Guardian says that there are possibly more masks in the ocean than jellyfish. Can you imagine? There are more masks in the ocean than jellyfish. That's what Guardian is saying. So we are destroying our earth, and the more damage we do to nature, the more we are going to suffer. Every country, they have their own way of dealing with this plastic. Like Canada and USA, they classify recycling of plastic as a very essential activity. You can remember, I'm sure you remember or recall this image when Prime Minister was in Mamalapuram. He was picking garbage from this beach. So India launched this Jan Andolan against this use of single-use plastic. And back in September to October 2019, we celebrated this Swachhta Hi Seva campaign. The most interesting line that I find in this article written by this Parmeshwaran Iyer is that plastic is not the problem. Our handling of it is the main problem. Again, plastic is not the problem. Our handling of it is problem. I still remember those days, right? Childhood days when people used to carry this homemade bags, cotton bags, or bags made from your old curtains or bed sheets or some other clothing material. But from last few years, maybe 10-15 years, we have developed this habit of asking for a plastic bag. And then this is the reason, and we find everything is covered up with plastic. Most of the items that we buy nowadays, right, you find plastic in it. So single-use plastic is very dangerous. There are so many countries they are recycling this, they are collecting and recycling this plastic, and they are making good use of it. For example, Uganda, they have started making this sort of face shields using this old plastic. There are countries in India as well. We have plastic roads, and we need to do this thing. We can use this plastic roads. We can create more roads, plastic roads, and they are more durable. We need plastic, but not single-use plastic. And this will change only if we change our behavior, if we change our habit. If we will keep on, if we go to shopping mall or some other places, and if we keep on asking for plastic, then the suppliers or the people who are selling things, right, they will keep on supplying you plastic because you are asking for plastic. So as consumers, we are very powerful. If we stop asking for plastic, if we stop individually, if we take responsibilities, then I think this will create a big difference. And last fact that I would like to take you through is that let's hope that we will find this vaccine for this coronavirus in, let's say, maybe a few months time. Let's hope for it. Just do you know that if you just give, we have some roughly 7.8 billion people on our planet. If each and every one of us are inoculated means basically we get this injection, right? Then we have to use this a syringe, single-use syringe, and this will create 400 ton of plastic waste. Can you imagine? So just one activity of this vaccination drive will create 400 ton of plastic. So this is getting more and more serious, and as I told you, the more harm we will do to Mother Nature, the more we are going to suffer. And that's basically everything in today's discussion, dear friends. You have some news items, and I'm sure you can, of course, download the PDF and go through it. It's not that difficult. These are all important news items, in my opinion, and I want you guys to go through it in detail, right? And that's basically everything as far as the Hindu videos are concerned. Tomorrow is Sunday, so no videos tomorrow. Now I will directly meet you on Monday, right? You will of course get daily financial news analysis, but as far as the Hindu newspaper is concerned, I'll see you on Monday. So enjoy your weekend. God bless you all. Jai Hind.